Hello everyone, I'm Delta and welcome to my tutorial on combining and hiding seams on 3D printed parts for cosplay. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to prepare, bond, back, and hide seams on a Halo 3 ODST Oni ODST chestplate. For this tutorial, you will need your 3D printed parts, sandpaper in a variety of grits, super glue, I prefer gel but any kind will work, JB Weld plastic bonder epoxy, disposable brushes, Bondo spot putty, sandable filler primer, and a base coat of spray paint of your choice. We'll start by cleaning up the raw edge of the print. I recommend using 220 grit sandpaper to not cut too deep and chamfer the edge of the print. If you used a brim during your print, make sure to knock down the lip of the brim that remains. Before bonding the print together, I recommend test fitting the pieces to see how well they line up. If they are slightly off from each other, we can correct that later. With our test fit complete, we can begin combining the prints. Using the super glue, space the dots a slight distance away from each other to get a good bond. I recommend using super glue gel to give you a few extra seconds to separate the parts if you don't line them up properly on the first attempt. After the parts are connected and lined up, use slight pressure and hold for about 30 seconds to fuse them. Be careful not to press too hard or you may break the parts loose and separate them. Now that our prints are tacked, it's time to back. Using a disposable brush, mix the two-part epoxy together. Once combined, brush a heavy coat on the back side of the seam and a light coat on the front side of the seam. Allow about 20 to 45 minutes to dry. Once dry, sand the front side of the epoxy with a rough sandpaper. I used 100 grit to level the front epoxy layer. With the epoxy mostly level, it's time to begin using spot putty to hide layer lines and fully level the prints. Once applied, allow 15 to 20 minutes to let the putty dry completely. Sand the putty with a medium grit sandpaper, I use 220, until the part is level. Reapply and sand the putty until the part's smoothness is to your liking. Wipe off any excess spot putty dust with a paper towel or rag. Time to spray on our sandable fillable primer. As with all spray paint, start with a light coat, but after that, apply several medium coats of the primer. Allow a few hours to dry completely. Now begin wet sanding with a high grit wet sandpaper. I'll be using 800 and 2000 grit. Once wet sanding is complete, allow to dry overnight before painting on the base coat. And with that, this tutorial comes to a close. If you found this video helpful, give it a like. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know in the comments below. Also, I'd love to see any of your in-progress builds. And finally, if you want to see more of my content, subscribe. Have a great day and happy building.